end, so I would be first, but okay.
Didn't work.
Hi everyone, I'm Jaclyn Bernstein. I'm president and partner of Access New York Metro and Empire Force Events. We are an event design and production and destination management company. Does anyone here know what a DMC is?
Yeah.
Woo, good.
Yeah.
Love that. Fans for us. That is so fabulous. Okay. Our company is 35 years young this year, and that is correct. I have not been there that long. I don't even date, well, anyway, that's another panel. My partner shaking his head. That was one of those things I should have said. It's fine. It's funny. Anyway, my business partner, Robert Holstein, and I have actually owned the company for the past 22 years. Bought the company a couple of years after, thank you, graduating college. And I sit on the board of NYC & Company, our Convention Business Bureau, the major events selling for New York. And we only do corporate, organizational, branding, experiential, activation, event production. So that's the side I'm going to be speaking about here, working with corporate meeting planners, doing a lot in hotels, etc. And I could keep going on and on and on. I'm sure we'll talk about it in the panel, so thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Jaclyn. And we have Marissa Ain from Play to the Cantor, so why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Good evening, everyone.
And Jaclyn, you have some macroeconomic trends or macro trends that you want to talk about?
Sure. I love what you said before about your platform with intelligent information. How did you, I loved, I mean, obviously you want to promote your company like that, but it was very smart to say it that way. And just to follow through what you were talking about, the fact that you are a complimentary service to the actual planner is something that planners out there are looking for in the bigger economies of scale here. Which then ties into scaled economies. Look at companies like Amazon. They're been in the news a lot lately, how the brick and mortar Macy's is closing simply because of what's happening with the retailer, which is non-retailer, but which is funny because Amazon is actually going to be opening up a pop-up shop now. But take organizations like Uber. They have a corporate side to their business. So as a destination management company, one of our core services of planning transportation management, we don't own any of the vehicles, but we manage arrival and departures, maneuvering guests around. The fact that we're competing with Uber is uber crazy. Take an organization also like Airbnb, which here you just thought you were going to go, hey, a really expensive apartment to stay in. They're starting an event planning service. And all three of these organizations are not brick and mortar. So they're competing with all of us that are sitting here in the room, whether you have a beautiful office or you're working virtually. I think that's something that we all need to look out for in the greater sense of what is going on out there. We're also finding that companies look to us, even though we're part of event production and we're in the business of servicing events, but we're being hired a lot just to source. They might come to you for your platform, or they might come to us to have a verbal conversation to discuss, what do you think of this venue? Thank you. What don't you think of this venue? What should I use or not? They might have seen it on your platform, and they're just hiring us just for our sourcing expertise, which is not necessarily, I said this to a client today, what we wake up for every day, but we have to change how we then service and find a way to be able to online make money on giving a service of what the clients actually want to pay for. It's not always full execution.
I mean, that's a really good point. I mean, it's about, there's a lot to be said about shaping the way that our customers and our prospects are thinking about meetings and events. So do you have a sense as to how you want to shape, Jaclyn, how you want to shape the way that our customers and our prospects are thinking about meetings and events, and specifically meetings and events planner?
Well, think about it. We're in the live experience business. This event tonight would be much different if we were sitting home in our skivvies and watching it all on our computer screen, right? Or whatever you decide to wear. So we're here because we want to do this experience and share it with people, have a cocktail, talk to someone live. And some of you might have been in an office all day or somewhere you worked and didn't talk to a soul because you were so focused. So it sounds like being a throwback to the olden days, but we're in the service profession and being hospitable, and it's something that we built our company on. Something to talk about is that when we get a new inquiry, we pick up the phone. We want to talk live with someone. And it was part of my notes to talk about Elster, and I think it's a good segue, that how can we discuss what your live experience at your very boring meeting might be, or what your exciting event experience might be, if we don't actually get to talk about it. And I can hear you on the phone say, what do you think of this venue? Yeah, we went there once before, we don't like it. Oh my God, I've never heard of that before, we gotta go there. what a different way that conversation's gonna go simply from having that live connection. We feel that that's very, very important. And I would love to see, I know with my colleagues and our team, and we have employees that have been with us for 17 years, that they want to be able to see that, and we have to gauge our communications to the millennials and those that want to texting. Who texts for business? But that's what happens now, right? Hey, or Facebook Messenger. Hey, sort of really cool picture. I went to the event with you. I mean, we would think you pick up the phone or email. So we have to change to accommodate how people want to communicate. But the live experience of events and meetings should still be true to the hearts when we execute them.
Jeff probably has a lot to say about live meetings and events.
I just would like to add a couple of pointers. You want to come here, besides having some complimentary wine, get some pointers that you could work with. And we have a saying that there's no shame in repetition. And I think all of us who here are in events, and we did an event at that restaurant or that hotel or that venue before. I want to do something better. But guess what? That client you're on the phone with didn't necessarily do that event that you did the week before. So think how you're able to expedite that. If you did an event last night and you speak to a client tomorrow, you don't have to reinvent it. One, you make more money, bottom line. You get to call that vendor up and say, guess what? I need you as a lighting guy, you as a video guy, you as the caterer, you as the florist. Come and do what you just did for this next event. They're going to be happy to get that investment again from you, and you're able to give that client something that you already did the trial run for, because there ain't no dress rehearsal in our profession, right? So that's something to think about, and I just know that we're always taxing ourselves trying to find something new and better. I always feel unless you're raising the dead on the dance floor that we can't get impressed anymore. But try not to always overtax yourself, and try to look to your vendors that you have really great relationships with. In addition, talking about being responsive, the big thing is, as much as I say that we pick up the phone to call, if my cell phone rings or our office phone rings, I answer it. One is, I don't want to listen to voicemail. Don't you find voicemail annoying? Remember how years ago you loved getting your voicemail? It's the worst thing now. Answer the phone. You'll be surprised that people just sometimes call and you answer it, and the other 3 people did not answer their phone. And that's another thing. As a business owner, if I see an email late at night, obviously we work with international, so if an email comes in 4 or 5 in the morning, I'm checking it. Even if you just respond, hey, so honored that you want us to service your event. I'll give you a call at 10 o'clock. Don't do that when are you free, because then you can get that email trail going back and forth. Pick a time and then just call them and make that happen. Now you can't expect your employees to have to answer emails after work hours. Some of ours do. But I know you read a lot about you should only look at email for a certain amount of time during the day. Unfortunately, I don't think that's practical. And if you're able to just be responsive, like you said about the venues, hey, got your email, I'm on a conference call, I'm going to call you back. Really psyched that you want us to work with you. That client's like they're the first person that responded, and when you have that initial call with them, whoever they're going to speak with after, they're going to base their questions and their evaluation on your call. It's the craziest thing. We've had people call back and say, you know what, I was getting a proposal from those 2 companies, but I really enjoyed our experience on the phone with you. We're just going to hire you. We did no proposal at that point. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's just something that I personally believe in my life, and I just feel that's something that to think about as we look at the future of how people communicate, that it's a lost art of speaking. And I think that's something that we should think about in the future.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Here, here.
2 applause this time.
We want to be responsive to the audience as well, so if you guys have any
Requests to that, we have requests for armed security, either in uniform, so we're approved by the paid detail unit of the New York Police Department to utilize their paid detail, which are police officers either in or out of uniform, armed, but they're working privately for you, and you pay a fee to the police department to utilize that. I think what's happening in our political climate right now, you could potentially see more of that. Some clients like the idea of seeing a police officer in uniform. It's like cool for them because it is in New York. Others don't want to see it. That gives them a crazy concern. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a need for it out there, a really small group. And a lot of the C-suite is going to have their own drivers anyway. We have to deal with that as well. I hate this question. Because after doing this for so long, with all due respect, every day I'm amazed, and I keep saying I need to write a book of just about quips and the craziest shit that clients have done or said. I don't have to curse.
Yes.
So, and now that was sort of a war story, so I think we should have a whole discussion on this, and I will think about them. But for me personally in our company, probably something that for us is, as you said, the craziest stuff is anything that's very clever. Because we see everything all the time. And I'm really not going to tell you something very exciting here, but something that just came to mind that I just recently experienced. But there's a fabulous caterer here in New York City that just opened a mixology, beverage side to their business. And presentation is really everything, right? So with all due respect to a nice bar or something with linen with all the glass and your beverages lying behind on the back bar, that's a bar. You can get that anywhere. So what they did was they had one station that was just called Vodka on the Rocks. And they built this slope, not like an ice luge, come on, but more like a mountain that was built, probably like that big. And when they poured the vodka down on this very cool slope, they had this pan with rocks with dry ice. So get it, vodka on the rocks, and then they had a spigot to serve the vodka. So it was just an interesting presentation of something that's so simple. It was just vodka, they had it with the mixers, but think about how everyone wanted to go to that station and get it. And when you talk about the craziest things, it doesn't always have to be big, it doesn't always have to be expensive, but clever is really the way to go. It's something that we're going to see. There's so much technology. Every time you get another email, you're reading about something that is absolutely over the top and incredible, and it's never been done before, technology-wise. But there is something to be said for a kinder, simpler, especially in our economic environment, political environment, to go back to certain parts that are much simpler events. So it might be live music, David, as opposed to some crazy, techno, electronic type of presentation. Food and beverage, I think that as much as everyone wants to have sweets, it is crazy, or something really fattening and crazy, it's crazy to see any menu or any presentation that doesn't have healthy alternatives on them. So people want to indulge, but then people also need to have something much more simply prepared. Also, menus that describe not just what it is, but everything that's in it is very important. And I love that you were talking about festivals, because a lot of major brands might say, hey, we want to do our own music festival. But now they're thinking, why should we? There's South by Southwest, there's Coachella. So instead of designing our own event, let's invest money and have our own brand marketing pop-up experience, pre or post, or in conjunction with however they want to do that. They're thinking, why create something new all the time? And someone has to start, right? Someone had to start Coachella. But at a certain point, why start and make something new when we could just buy into that and see that cross-integration and sponsorship? But I think, I want to do an event, Rob always laughs at me, that's an event of all children's games. Candyland, Chutes and Ladders, Mousetrap. I'm thinking sometimes people don't want to go to events and have all those crazy things that are done. They want something that's just really kind of fun and intimate and bring you back to a simpler time. So I think it's something to look out for, because you don't need us here to tell you about all the trends. You're going to get it in your email when you look later tonight. We're talking about a whole other type of experience.
Jaclyn, you have some thoughts on what we should be left with?
Yes, when we talked about this in the panel, and I know we had our conversation, I kept probing you, like what are the questions, what are we going to be talking about here? Think about the fact that when we talk about the future events, it's not something that you have to Google future events and see what someone else is saying, whether it's an industry article or some really cool designer that you've seen their pictures on Instagram and you're thinking, well, if they're doing that, that must be the future. When we came up with these concepts, and I chatted about this with our team back at the office, pretty much everything we discussed here today is what we're seeing in our company. That's what we're experiencing. So anyone here could, I don't know, post online, that's what we do, or write a blog and proclaim, here's something that I see as the future of the event. We're all influencers and thought leaders. So it's not what someone else says. If we want to come out there and say, joking, we think that oxygen bars are making a comeback, trust us, run with this, you know what? Put it out there, and now you have made the statement that that's the future of an event. So I think we all rely so much on what the other person's saying, but we can be those people. So if we're seeing a trend in our company, and I'm on this big kick, pick up the phone and call someone, so I want to be, interviewed in Inc. magazine or a Fast Company and saying, this person built this business even better than it was, simply by just picking up the phone. And now there's a trend, now we've started it. So don't think it's just about us, we just happen to be the lucky ones that got on the panel tonight. But I think everyone here in this room is able to start a trend and promote it and feel comfortable that you're seeing what the future is. The future doesn't have to be 5 years from now, it could be 5 days from now, tomorrow when you wake up and try to do something.